Right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's information session about the Mount St. Joseph University's doctoral program. I'm Dr. Amy Murdoch, and I am the program director and a faculty member in the program. And I am joined with a wonderful panel of doctoral students, current students, alumni, and faculty. And also joining me is Allison Kennedy from our admissions department. So I'm going to real quickly let the panelists introduce themselves. So if you could please give your name, maybe where you're zooming in from. If you're a faculty member or contributing faculty member, note your role. And then those of you who are students or doctoral students or alum, if you could please say, what your current role in education is. So Allison, I'll start with you as our wonderful admissions person.
Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Kennedy. I work in the admissions office, and I will be helping you with the admission process along the way, so especially the application part of that.
Dr. Collier.
Hi, everyone. I am Janice Kohler, and I'm currently zooming in from Atlanta, Georgia. My role is I'm a contributing faculty member for the graduate courses, and also I am currently the director of a curriculum project that we're working on at Mount St. Joseph at the Center for Reading Science, and I am an alumni cohort 1 graduate of the doctoral program. And Megan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Martin, and I am coming to you from St. Charles, Illinois, about 45 minutes west of Chicago. And I am an assistant professor, so I teach in the graduate and the doctoral program. And I'll turn it over to Jim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Addison. I'm zooming in from Wisconsin. I'm a literacy coach at a regional service agency, CSIP 3, in the southwest corner of the state. And I will throw it over to Becky.
Yes, I'm also zooming in from Wisconsin. However, my role is I support MTSS, Professional Learning and Implementation in Minnesota. And I'm part of cohort 5. And I will send it over to Shane.
Hello, everybody. I am Shane Baxter. I am zooming from Maryland. I am a part of the wonderful Revolutionaries. We are cohort 5. And my current role, I am the director of Orton Gillingham International. We provide OG trainings across the country. And I will throw it to Corey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Gaskins. I am zooming in from Roanoke, Virginia. I'm also part of the Revolutionaries cohort 5. We just finished our official first year. And I am a professional learning facilitator for the Rollins Center based out of Atlanta. And I will kick it to Kelly.
Hi, everybody. I am Kelly Powell Smith, and I'm zooming in from Eugene, Oregon, and I'm a professor here in the Reading Science program. Glad to see everybody here. And I guess I'm supposed to kick it over to somebody else. I'll do Renata. Dr. Archie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Renata Archie, zooming in from Brooklyn, New York. I teach, I'm a contributing faculty member in the graduate and the doctoral program. And I'm also an alumni of cohort 1 of the program. I will send it over to Dana.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dana Russell Freudenthal. I am coming to you from just outside of Dallas, Texas, and I am an assistant professor in both the graduate program and the doctoral program. I am an alum from actually the graduate program, and then I did my doctoral work here in Texas. And so I'm so glad you're all here. And let's see, I'm not sure who all has spoken. Megan, have you been able to introduce yourself yet?
Yeah, if we do, Kellen.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kellen Cyrock, and I am also part of cohort 5, the Revolutionaries. I'm zooming in from Charleston, Illinois, which is in the middle of the state, and I currently serve as the reading content specialist for the Illinois SLD Support Project. And I will kick it over to Pam.
Hi, everyone. Pam Kastner, and it's an honor to serve in the graduate and the doctoral reading science program. And I will turn it over. Let's see who hasn't had a turn yet. Oh, gosh. Katie Woods, I don't think you've had a turn yet.
Hi there, my name is Katie Woods, and I am a doctoral student in cohort 5, and I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm a first grade teacher. Let's see.
Mercedes. I know if you came on, it's hard to know who.
Mercedes, do you want to go next?
Mercedes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mercedes Avila, and I am from cohort 2, and I am Zooming from Brooklyn, New York, and I am a K-2 interventionist in the New York City public school system.
And then I think Jennifer Keeler, I think I saw jump on.
Hello, I am Jennifer Keeler, and I'm an assistant professor at MSJ for both the graduate program and the doctoral program. And I am zooming in from Cincinnati, so I actually am somebody local for MSJ.
How about Maggie?
Hello, everybody. Maggie Trout, zooming in from Michigan. I am in cohort 4, in the depths of getting ready for dissertating. So excited to talk more about that if we have questions there. But my role during the day is a senior technical assistance consultant at the American Institutes for Research. And I'm not sure, Amy,
Yeah,
who else?
I think we got everyone. Is there anybody I missed? I'm trying to scroll through and make sure. Great. So I wanted to take a moment so that you could see both our faculty and our students are from all over the country, which we love. So this presentation tonight, I'm going to go over some information, and I have a number of stopping points where I will pose questions to the panel so you can hear from other faculty as well as our current and alumni in our doctoral program. And then also along the way, I invite you to write questions in the Q&A. And our panel will answer questions as I am talking. And then if there's something that would be great to pull to the, to the group, then they will help me elevate questions for the whole. So welcome to our information session. So this evening's agenda, we already did introductions. I'm going to talk through the program, so helping you understand how our program works. It's a unique program, so I'm going to talk about our courses and then also how the courses are offered. Then we will get into the application process, so understanding how the application parts work, and that's where Allison will jump in and help me kind of go over the key pieces and also some tips on a successful application. And then we'll talk about the cost of the program, and the fantastic new news that we have is that we are now able to offer 100% tuition scholarships to every single person who's admitted. And there's nothing additional that you need to do. It's just part of the program that if you are accepted into the program, you will get a full scholarship, which is thanks to an amazing funder. And we'll talk about some other opportunities that are provided thanks to that funding. Right. So to start, Mount St. Joseph University, we have the doctoral program. We also have a graduate program, and then we also have a Center for Reading Science. And so here's just a quick overview of our faculty across those 3 areas. And as you heard from introductions, many of us teach in a variety of programs and also work through the center. So there's a lot of overlap. But our doctoral faculty specifically, we have doctoral faculty who teach courses and work full-time at MSJ. And then we also have contributing faculty members. And so we'll let you kind of get to know some of our faculty. So here is our 7 full-time reading science faculty members. And these are people who will be dissertation chairs. You'll have them for classes. So these faculty you will get to know very, very well. We also have fantastic contributing faculty members. They do not work full-time at MSJ, not all of them actually. Laura Saylor is our dean, so she's the dean for the School of Education, and she also co-teaches a class with me in the doctoral program, and then she also serves on dissertation committees. Dr. Pam Castor and Dr. Renata Archie are 2 fantastic contributing faculty members for the doctoral program. They each teach a class in the doctoral program, and they also serve as dissertation committee members. We have had 3 successful graduating classes, cohorts 1 through 3, And as you may have heard in the introductions, I think it was Shane who introduced himself as part of the revolutionaries. They all named themselves. And so cohort 1 were our trailblazers who truly blazed the trail for the program and helped us understand what was needed in the program. And we made a lot of changes thanks to the input from cohort 1. Cohort 2 is our game changers. And then cohort 3 just graduated this past May, our mavens. And then currently in the program, we have 3 cohorts. Cohort 4, which a number of people on this call are members of that cohort, the Freedom Fighters. And they are in the process right now of proposing their dissertations. So planning their dissertations, and they will be ready to implement in the fall. So some great experts on the call to talk to you about dissertation. And then cohort 5 are revolutionaries who just finished their first year and are going into their second year. And then our brand new cohort, cohort 6, are visionaries. They just started the program. So they just finished their first course. And here we all are together, the cohorts 4 through 6, at our Summer Institute, which we'll talk about in a second. But that was just over a week ago. So the first thing I want to talk about is who is eligible for the doctoral program to apply. So our program is at the doctoral level, so we do require a master's degree. Sometimes doctoral programs have a master's degree kind of built in. Ours does not. So we do require a master's degree in education or a related field. So we have people who have a school psychology master's degree or SLP or education. So it doesn't have to be a reading or an education master's degree. It can be in a related field as well. And our doctoral program does serve students in the United States or Canada, residents of those countries. So I want to start with the mission of our doctoral program. So this is on our website, and I point this out because it's really important to think about if you're a good match for us as well. And this is also something nice to talk about in your letter that you write as part of the doctoral application, because one of the things we're looking for is that if we're right for you. So the mission of the Mount St. Joseph Reading Science Program is really focused on the preparation of educational leaders in the science of reading to affect social justice through impacting educational systems, enabling those systems to provide effective research-based literacy instruction for all. Our purpose of creating this doctoral program was to impact education. So we really want to prepare the next generation of educational professors and literacy leaders. So those who will transform educational systems by providing support and education to our teachers. So we're really looking for leaders and those who are teaching teachers around the science of reading. Couple things to know about our program. So we are fully accredited through the Higher Learning Commission. We went through a 2-year process, which was a very rigorous process, as it should be for a doctoral program, where we had to be internally reviewed, of course, by our university, but then also we are located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we had to be accredited from the state of Ohio Department of Higher Education, and then as well as the national group, the Higher Learning Commission, that accredits university programs. So before we could even offer classes, we went through a 2-year accreditation process, and we were fully awarded accreditation with no revisions by all 3 of these bodies, July of 2021, and that's when we began our first cohort. Our doctoral program builds off of our very successful graduate program. So we have a fully online master's degree program that also includes a reading science certificate, a dyslexia certificate, an Ohio reading endorsement, and the master's degree. That program has been running now for 18 years. And we were the first group of university programs that were accredited by the International Dyslexia Association. And we have been reaccredited by IDA 3 times now. And so the doctoral program is relatively new, but it does build off of a long history of doing the science of reading at the graduate level. And also at Mount St. Joseph University, our undergraduate program is also focused on the science of reading. And so the nice thing about our university is all of the faculty are on the same page in terms of the science of reading. You will not find the reading wars at MSJ, and so that's a real plus from our undergraduate all the way through our doctoral program.
Dr.
So
Murdoch,
yes.
While you were on that, there is a question that says, I wanted to know if this program could be used to obtain reading specialist certification as well, the doctoral.
Yeah, not the doctoral program. So the doctoral program is not a licensure or a certificate program. Our graduate program could possibly be used that way because we are in the state of Ohio. We are able to give the Ohio reading endorsement, but many of our students in the graduate program, again, not the doctoral program, but the graduate program, they do use one of our program tracks in order to get licensure or certification within their state. And so if you're interested in that program, Dr. Jamie Peebler is the faculty member who can answer great questions about that. Thank you. So let me tell you a little bit about just how we're set up in terms of our doctoral coursework. So the first thing to know is our doctoral program is set up for the full-time educator. So every person in our program is a full-time educator. And so you are working full-time. And so we know that your doctoral work has to be balanced with your work life and family life and, you know, all the other things in your life. And that's who we're designed for. That's who we designed the program initially for. We really wanted to support the leadership and systems change work of current leaders in education. So we designed a doctoral program that would be able to be done by those, those professionals. So it is a part-time doctoral program. It's set up across 3 years. So you will do doctoral work across those full 3 years. We are beginning with this new cohort. We are starting slightly earlier. In the past, we started in May, and we wanted to make a little bit more space in the program. So we are starting with this new cohort in March. So you will start in the second semester of spring, and that will take you then through 3 years of coursework. And that does include summers. And so on our website, you can see this cohort plan. So you can see the courses that you'll take. Your very first semester, spring 2027, you will take just one class, and that kicks off the program. And then in the summer, you take 2 classes. All of our classes are 3 credit hours. So that's the little gray box. You can see the credit hours. So you take 1 class in the spring, and then 2 your first summer, 2 your first fall, 2 in the spring, and then your second summer you do take 3 classes. These are very purposefully paired together so that it works. It's busy, but it does work. And that's now your only semester where you'll have 3 classes. The reason we are starting half a semester earlier is so that you don't have 3 classes in your spring right before your dissertation, because that's challenging. So our current students have that, and it's challenging to take a class while they're also planning their dissertation. So we've kind of moved that class out of your second summer into this kind of spring early start to make that run more smoothly. And everybody on this call who either did the doctoral program or who is currently in the doctoral program will be very jealous of cohort 7, because that's been a challenge for our program that we finally figured out. So during the school year and during the summer, most of the summers, you do 2 courses, but you do 1 at a time. So we take our 16-week semester and we cut it in half, and you do 1 half your first class for 7 weeks. You get a tiny break during the school year, and then you do another class for 7 weeks. So that we found to be much more manageable for busy educators rather than trying to manage 2 classes across 16 weeks. So the courses are more accelerated, but you're focused on 1 class at a time, which has worked really nicely. We have 3 kind of chunks of classes or domains of classes: leadership and systems change, language reading and writing, and then research and statistics. So our leadership and systems change and language reading and writing, they really all have the common theme of leadership, because again, that's a key purpose of our program. The multi-tiered systems of support and systems change is foundational to the work that we're doing in schools. And so you have 2 courses that you take in those in that area. And then you can see the listing of the courses in language reading and writing. So you'll take a cognitive psychology class, linguistics, language development, a class focused on the teaching of writing. And then you take a class focused on supervision and teaching in higher education. And then a number of special topics classes all connected to this coursework. And then the third domain is research and statistics. And there's really 2 chunks to that domain of coursework. The first is a series of courses around research and statistics. You start right away in the program with an introductory class around research design and statistics. We do that class very early in the program. It will be for cohort 7, your 3rd course in the program. And the purpose for that is to make sure you have that good foundation of how to read research and understand research. So as you're reading research articles, you really, get the full impact of what they're saying. That's followed with an intermediate research design and statistics class. And then during your 2nd year in the program, you take behavioral research methods, which goes over single case design and program evaluation. Those are 2 design areas that we find to be very helpful and supportive of dissertation work in applied settings. And then you take an applied research class. This all gets you ready to do your dissertation. And so this sequence of courses is done across your 1st and 2nd year. And then at the end of your 2nd year, you take your first dissertation seminar class, which gets you thinking about dissertation and diving into a topic area. And then at the end of your 2nd year and into your 3rd year, you take the sequence of courses that guide you through your dissertation work. And that's in your 3rd year. So we really purposefully, from the very beginning, set you up to be successful in doing that dissertation. So the 1st year is really about deepening your knowledge, building your leadership skills. Your 2nd year, continuing that good knowledge building and leadership work, but really thinking about research design and supporting your involvement in higher education. And then your 3rd year is your dissertation year. That's when you're implementing your dissertation, working very closely with the dissertation chair to implement and write up your dissertation results. So a couple other things just to know about our course structure. During the summer, going back to the course structure. So as I said, you take 2 courses a semester, but 1 at a time. In the doctoral program, we do meet on Zoom synchronously between 2 to 6 times per class, and it really depends on the needs of the class. Most classes meet 3 or 4 times. We have a couple classes that meet weekly just because of the nature of the class, so 6 times. During the summer, we do have a summer institute, which I will talk more in just a second about. But that summer institute is on campus in Cincinnati, and it's a 5-day institute where everybody comes together on campus and we spend time together doing coursework and other activities, which again, I will go into more detail about that in just a minute. All right, so this brings me to my first stopping point for my frequently asked questions. But before I get into that, is there any questions in the chat that would be, or in the Q&A that would be good to bring forward to the whole group?
There are a lot of individual questions asking about their specific degrees, and if those would be accepted. Like, how do you look at that? Like, some have a social science discipline, political science with a bachelor's, and so there are several questions about that. And then there are also questions asking if the scholarships are available for prerequisite courses.
Okay, great. So your individual questions, probably the best way to answer those will be to email our reading science email, which I have at the very end of this presentation as well. And we can answer those. But in general, I can say if it's in education, so school psychology or a related field, so school psychology, speech language pathology, special education, or early childhood or middle childhood, adolescence, All of those are the typical master's degrees that we see and can accept. We don't accept master's degree from other disciplines because this program is assuming knowledge of education in general. And so we are looking for a master's degree within education. So if you have a special situation, definitely email us because maybe you have a different degree, but you've worked in education. So we do have unique situations sometimes, but I can tell you overall, that's what we're looking for. And then the question about scholarships in the graduate program for prerequisites. We do have a handful of scholarships in for the prerequisite, the Reading Science Certificate program. And you can definitely reach out to Allison about that. It is not as generous as the doctoral program. So it is not everybody gets a scholarship. Like we wish we could do that. But we do have a handful of scholarships. They are needs-based scholarships. So you do have to fill out the FAFSA for those scholarships. And, it's considered within comparison with the other people who've applied. But definitely reach out to Allison about that. She can give you more information. All right, so I want to pose this to the panel because these are some frequently asked questions that we get from people that we thought it would be nice for you to hear from other faculty as well as our alumni and current students. The biggest one is probably about time commitment and workload. So I will first say from a program perspective, we tell you to bank on or count on 20 to 25 hours of doctoral work a week. Obviously, some weeks are a little less or a little more. Also depends on the comfort or the background knowledge you have with a particular course. But in general, we tell you to think about the doctoral program like a part-time job, 20 to 25 hours a week, and making sure that that can fit into your life. So that being said, I will open it up to the panel who can speak from the student, especially the student perspective in terms of workload, if that's true for you, and then also if you have any tips around balancing doctoral work with your busy careers and families. And anybody can feel free to unmute and answer this question.
So I will say I agree completely, Amy, with the part-time job. And so I think one thing that's really great about the program is within that first course, you are meant to kind of develop this plan of, okay, how are you going to balance this? What is, your plan for, doing your work, or where are you going to be doing your work? So that's really intentionally built into that first course. And so my advice would be to get on a schedule as much as you can. And so devoting, a set amount of time per day, and maybe it's a lot of time on one specific day, but also making time for your family and your friends, and also keeping that sacred space there as well. But again, that first class, you are forced to kind of create this plan. And that was always, that's been really, really helpful for me.
Thanks, Kelly.
And I think to expand on that, if you need to take prerequisite courses, that also is a great opportunity to learn some of those, study skills, habits that you want to naturally kind of work your way into before formally starting the coursework. I also, as many of us who are on this call can resonate with, right? Background knowledge is important. And so there are certain classes where you may have more or less background knowledge than others, and that may also influence the workload for you for certain courses. For example, some of the more statistics or research-based courses may require a little bit more if that's not something that you do in your day-to-day versus if you're deep in the reading intervention work and MTSS is part of your daily life, then that might be something that has a little bit of a lesser workload. So that also is kind of a variable piece of the coursework as we sequence through the program.
Also, I'd like to add that for me, putting yourself on a schedule is like the most important thing. And not only putting yourself on that schedule, but actually following it. When I was in the program, I taught kindergarten. And kindergarten is exhausting. You get home, you're tired. But I made sure that every day I worked 2 hours from Monday through Friday, 2 hours from 6 to 8 o'clock. That was my school time, right? My homework time, my reading time. And then on Saturdays, I did a longer period of time because I had all day to work. And Sundays, I still went to church on Sundays. I have 2 kids. Everybody was fed every day, whether I cooked it or I ordered out. There was a lot of pizza eating and Chinese food, but everybody ate. No one went to bed hungry. And I was still in bed by 9 o'clock, the latest during the week. That was like a non-negotiable. And so I never had to stay late, doing work and then having to go to work the next day. That doesn't work for me. But putting myself on the 2 hours every day and working a little longer on Saturday worked out perfectly.
Amy, I just wanted to add too, throughout our cohort, all of our families look different. Some of us have young kids, some of us have older kids, some of us have pet kids, and we all make it work. So you just kind of prioritize the things that are important to you, as is true with much of life. And so it is really doable, but don't think it's only for people who are single with no people at home. So.
You, Corey, because that's a big question I get a lot is, I have young children or I have older children. Is this doable? And as Corey said, I just wanted to punctuate that because I think that's really important. We do have people who have all different kinds of families in terms of where they are in life and who they're taking care of, or if they're taking care of sometimes, adult family members like parents and so forth. And so I just wanted to punctuate that we are a program built for that full-time busy educator, but it is something, as all of these people said, it is something to think about your time and how does this fit into your life, because it might not be the right time for you to take this on. So that's a piece that we always like people to really think about as you're making a decision about if this is right to take on at this point. Great. Thank you, everyone. All right, so one of the unique things about our program is that we do have a summer institute. And I know at first this can be a little daunting. Sometimes people say to me, understandably, like, oh gosh, I do have a family. It's really hard for me to be away from, work or family for a week in the summer. And so we do understand that, and we have, thought about this a lot, but I will tell you, and I will let the panel also tell you, or you'll hear their perspective, that the Summer Institute we find to be a really special part of our program, and it is required. So if you are thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I can do this, it is required. And the reason it's required is because it really is a powerful part of the program. So each summer, all cohorts will all come together. And again, we're located in Cincinnati, Ohio, for 5 days in the summer. The nice piece is we are able to house you at the dorms, and we do feed you. And so the biggest cost for the Summer Institute is getting to Cincinnati, but we are able to provide dorm if as long as you're willing to stay in the dorm. We are able to provide housing through our dorms, and then we do provide food as well throughout the institute. You don't have to stay in the dorms, and some people choose not to, but I will say probably like 98, 99% of students do stay in the dorms. The dorms are taken over by our doctoral program in the summer, so it's not like you're, next to like a 21-year-old football player or anything like that. You are with your program people. So during this summer, you attend classes. We have guest speakers, we have presentations, you get to meet with your faculty members. So there's a lot of good academic work that happens, as well as, a chance to connect and be together and get to know each other in person. So we really find that the Summer Institute is a great way to sustain us during the school year when we're not in person and still have those connections across both your cohort members and also your faculty. So some key activities that we do in the Summer Institute. The cohort that just graduated comes back and does a poster session. So you get to hear from students who just graduated what their dissertations were. And so this is a really fun time, both for our graduates to share their dissertations, as well as students who are brand new in the program, up to people who are looking to do a dissertation, the next year, really hear about dissertations done in our program. And there's Mercedes. There's a little picture of Mercedes right there. Another fun thing we do during the Summer Institute is we all read the same book together. And across cohorts, we discuss the book, and that's always really fun too, because you'll get to know not just your cohort, but people in other cohorts. We also have the students who are proposing their dissertations, those who will implement them in the fall. They present their dissertations during the Summer Institute. And a special thing about our dissertations is there's lots of opportunities for you as a earlier cohort member to get involved in a dissertation. And so one of the purposes of our students presenting their dissertation is to seek research assistance. And so that is a requirement of the program that you do some program service. And typically people do that service as acting as a research assistant, which also gives you great insight into the dissertation process. Also, during the Summer Institute, we have guest speakers. This past summer, we had Dan Willingham and Tracy White-Weeden, and they did a presentation at our big conference, but then they also did a smaller presentation just for our doctoral students and spent time with our doctoral students having dinner and lunch and just talking with them as well. So it's a nice opportunity to meet some of the, great leaders in our field. As part of the Summer Institute, we have a day, it's always the Wednesday, so the middle of the week, where we do a big community conference. And this is a chance for our doctoral students to get some presentation experience. So students going into their second year will do a presentation at the Summer Institute conference. All of our faculty also present. And then we also have, wonderful guest speakers who come in. So we've had Marianne Wolf, Anita Archer. Actually, Anita Archer is really special to our program. She spends the whole week with us and has come the last number of years. But we've had a lot of great presenters who, again, come and do a keynote presentation at the conference, but then spend time with us throughout the week doing presentations for our doctoral students, as well as just interacting. The summer before this past one, it was really special. Louisa Moats and Anita Archer were both here with us for a good chunk of the week. And I think this was like one of my all-time best professional presentation moments is Anita and Louisa did a Q&A with our students, and it was just fantastic to hear those two icons in reading on a stage together talking to us in a small group. It was wonderful. Julie Washington, Dr. Washington, has been with us in the past, and she's actually already said that she's going to come for this upcoming summer in 2027. So you also have time in classes. So this is always fun. It's one of my favorite things to have you in person and have a class together. So you'll do class presentations as well as just typical, class meetings with lectures and discussion. So again, that's just really fun to have that time in person as well. And then we also have some fun together. So one of the big goals of having you on campus all together is connection and to get to know each other. And so we do some fun activities to get to know each other. We bring in our brand new cohort the morning before, before we start that morning, just the new cohort and faculty, so they can get to know each other, a few hours before the full institute starts. In the past few years, the cohort who is getting ready to graduate has done some sort of performance activity. This is not required, but it has happened every year. So we've had songs and dances, and then this last year was really special. The cohort actually wrote a book and performed the book that they wrote, which was amazing. And we actually got a physical book. So, and it was about the dissertation process, which was really fun. So again, we just try to have a little bit of fun together to get to know each other. Actually, more than a little bit. We have a lot of fun together. We also each summer we've done some sort of game, like cohort against cohort. And this last year, the Freedom Fighters won the game. We had a trivia night and the Freedom Fighters won. We've played kickball. We've done outside games, trivia night. So again, just a chance to get to know each other better, have fun together, and make that connection even stronger. So I want to take another pausing point here and just see what perspective our students and faculty can give about the Summer Institute, because I know that can feel overwhelming to people to think about giving up a week of their summer to actually come somewhere else physically and, leave their families and work behind. So would anybody like to speak to kind of that Summer Institute experience and how it fits within our program?
I'll start, Amy. So we just got back, right, about a few weeks ago, and I think as I was a student and now as faculty, I think it's the best part of our year. To be together. We call it nerd camp, we call it science and reading camp. You're feeling fed all day long with your cohort, with your classmates, faculty, and we're having fun. So it's probably the highlight of the entire program. And as soon as you leave, you feel sad. So that's my take on it.
I'll just add.
Oh, you go, Mercedes.
I just wanted to add that it's such a great week that we graduate and we still keep coming back. So that's a testament to the entire program, but especially that, just to spend a couple days during that Summer Institute and be able to be part of that conference year after year, whether you graduate or not, like we keep coming back. So it's worth it.
Becky, did you want to say something as well?
I sure do, but I want to make sure I don't click the wrong thing. Yeah, I would just add that I am already scheming to figure out how I can get myself invited every summer. And I will say that I love my young people at my house, and I don't actually miss them for a whole week. So it is full days and full hearts. So I can't recommend it enough. Make it happen if you can.
Amy, there were some questions in the chat too about like staying in the dorms and do we actually do that? And yes, our whole cohort has stayed in the dorm except for one who actually lives in Cincinnati, and it's so much fun and we all bond and get to know each other. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah, does anybody else want to speak to the dorm life piece? And it's funny because even the people who live in Cincinnati, like they stay in the dorms too. Like they might not the first year because they're like, oh, I live in Cincinnati. I can just stay at home in my comfortable bed. And then they have like, fear of missing out because it's so much. I have not stayed in the dorms. Faculty don't stay in the dorms. It's just students. Although some faculty want to, but we want to give you that time. Yeah, anybody else want to speak to staying in the dorms versus not?
I am like the girliest girl, very particular about my sleep and all of those things. And I have stayed in the dorms both years and have loved every minute of it. And I can't wait to do it again next year. So if that says anything about it, highly recommend.
I think one thing I would add to is that this whole program is built on inclusion. It's built on community, as you saw in the pictures that Dr. Murdoch was sharing. And so staying in the dorms is just one piece of that, and navigating sort of the Summer Institute and the whole program right alongside your family or your cohort.
Yeah. And it's really convenient because, we're a little campus. And so you can get right out of bed and come down and get breakfast and then go right to class. So it is a very convenient piece as well. So, so the next.
Sorry, I was just going to add also, I believe that all the cohorts who have gone before have developed strategies to make that experience even better. So you have a mentor, which I'm sure that Amy is probably going to talk about that, who will likely be in a position to tell you how to maximize your time in the dorms and make it the most comfortable for you.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Kelly. We do assign you a mentor from the cohort right above you. And I feel like Summer Institute is probably the biggest mentoring connection or point of contact because yes, they have worked out lots of strategies and tips and things about like who brings a coffee maker and who has the comfortable bedding that we can ship and all sorts of things. So you do get the wisdom of the cohort above you as well. Great. So I'm also going to ask if anybody would like to tackle these you can tackle either one of them. So what would you say is the best thing about doing the MSJ program, and then also or instead a challenging part of doing the program? Because again, that's often a question I get from interested students.
I would say the best part about the doctoral program is the cohort model. Um, it's just really an unexpected benefit almost. We're a lot like family. I feel like Summer Institute is kind of like a big family reunion, and you can nerd out together and have all these great conversations. And it is kind of like camp because you don't want to go to sleep because you're hanging out with your friends and your family, and they just make it fun. You're doing something that's really, really hard, but it doesn't feel as hard because you have awesome people all around you.
I will add what Katie said, or second what Katie said. Family. It really has that feel about it. It's really special. I can't remember who it was asked me at Summer Institute this past summer, how was year two compared to year one? Year one was completely overwhelming, but year two felt like family. Like Katie said, it was like a family reunion, and we just picked up right where we left off. Hands down, cohort family.
And that family doesn't end even after graduation, right? Because we still are in touch with each and every person in that cohort, even after graduation. And you can always send them a message, text them, ask questions, whatever it is, somebody will always be there to answer and to help you out with whatever you need.
And that's true through the program too, where the professors are really intentional about mixing up the group assignments. Sometimes we get to choose, which is convenient to answer or elevate one of the questions earlier about time zone differences. Sometimes we have more control over that than others, but what's really powerful is that we do get to know so many of our cohort members through those random assignments in that group work. And so while we have a really close, larger cohort, there's a lot of intentionality about making sure that we also have those smaller groups that we can turn to more often, or that we ensure that we do meet all of our have that opportunity to get to know and work together with as many folks as possible.
That's great. You guys perfectly set me up for my graph. I'll definitely, I'm going to ask you again about challenges because I think those are nice to highlight as well, but this is just too perfect to talk about here. So what you heard, and I didn't prompt anybody ahead of time, is what we hear over and over again is the cohort model is so powerful. And that is absolutely by design, as Maggie kind of alluded to. One of our dreams in creating this doctoral program is to create a network of reading science passionate leaders across the country who could, utilize each other to do the work that they're doing in their communities. And we as faculty tap into this amazing network all the time as well. And so that's exactly what we want. We want you to have this amazing network to help you do the fantastical work that you're doing in your communities and in your states and in the country. And so that very much is by design, and we have heard that from people in cohort one and cohort two. Still, they constantly are still tapping into each other's knowledge, and it's also personal and friendship and that kind of thing, but there's also a lot of professional work that has been done because of these amazing networks. So we always, as part of our funding, we do have to survey our students every year. And every year, this graph has looked the same. So this is actually cohort one, but every year this graph has looked the same. When we ask about the cohort model, every single student rates it as a 5 because that's what's a really powerful part of the program. So I don't think we ever dreamed that it would be quite as wonderful as it has been, but it definitely was our hope that we would help create this network of really, amazing literacy leaders across the country. So I do want to see if anybody has a challenge that they're willing to share in terms of what do you find the most challenging thing about the MSJ doctoral program, or honestly, it's probably taking on a doctoral program in general, along with being a parent and being, a full-time educator or other responsibilities that you have.
I can answer this one. So I think for me, it was time management as far as what I needed to let go, maybe temporarily. You tend to be on a lot of maybe committees or boards in your personal life or your professional life that maybe you have to learn how to say no and just kind of have some time management and prioritize things. I thought that was challenging at first.
I think that's a great one. And I like how you said, thinking maybe about some things you can let go of for at least the time that you're in the program. We do talk to students about that. Like, obviously you can't let go of like taking care of your parents or, being a good daughter or being a good spouse or, parent. But are there things in your life that maybe you can let go of? Again, just during the time of the doctoral program. So that's an important piece to kind of think through.
I can just add that I think what's challenging for me sometimes as a true extrovert who wants to be in all the things with all the people is saying no to things. And not that it's hard to say no, but I'll say it like over the holiday weekend, my work life has been busy and I came outside after I finished my assignments and I got a little bit of grief like, oh, look at you outside in the real outdoors finally. And yeah, I had to prioritize the things that I've committed my time to for the next few years. And sometimes that's just, tough.
Yeah, thanks, Becky.
I think I would add something more general. I think when you first think about starting this journey, you kind of want to hit a pause button. And obviously, there isn't a pause button, that life is going to continue and that life's challenges are still going to come your way. So you have to lean on your support system. And that comes from who's around you, locally, but also that support system, as Shane was talking about, that family that you have at MSJ is so important too. So I think just navigating those challenges alongside the program, it was big for me. And again, just the support system around you is so crucial.
Yeah. And I will say too, that's a common thing that we talk about in advising early on in the program, is just helping people think through some of those things. Because again, we are built for the full-time educator. So we do want to help you figure out how this will work for you and get some guidance if it is feeling too overwhelming from your faculty, as well as, of course, your cohort members and your community. Yeah, great. Thank you. All right. So the next kind of topic area is a really fun one this time, because we just learned like 3 weeks ago, or less than that, it was right before the Summer Institute, like 2 weeks ago, that our generous funder, who has always, or not always, but for the last number of years, funded the doctoral program tuition at 80%, wanted to increase it to 100%. So starting next year, all of our students in our cohorts, whether they're continuing cohort or a brand new cohort, will get 100% of their tuition paid for. And that is guaranteed through the 3 years of your program. So if you are accepted in cohort 7, or you choose to apply and you're accepted in cohort 7, this 100%, we have that funding right now for all 3 years. So it's not like each year you wonder, this is a question I've gotten recently, each year, is it going to be renewed or not? It's all 3 years is guaranteed. And we have that funding for cohort 7 and cohort 8. And then so nice of this funder, when cohort 7 starts, cohort 5 and 6 will also have their scholarship increase to 100%. So that is just fantastic, and we're so thankful to have this generous funder. So there is, in terms of cost, other things to think about, of course, beyond tuition. So I just like to make that really clear. There is an application fee to apply to the doctoral program. You do have to get books for each course, and that cost varies by course, as you might imagine. We do have a graduate student fee that's applied to the doctoral program that is updated every year. This is actually last year's fee, so it's around this. We can double check it. It's on our website for the coming year as well. Some additional things that are really wonderful about our funding is we are able to bring those contributing faculty members both to campus to work with our doctoral students thanks to this funding. We also, in a number of our courses, have guest speakers thanks to this funding as well. So just about all of our courses have guest speakers that we're able to support through this funding. And some additional benefits to doctoral students specifically: you are funded to go to 2 national conferences, or 2 conferences across your time with us. So you'll get 2 stipends of $1,500 that you can apply to cover registration or transportation, stay at a hotel during conferences, which is wonderful. And we really try to all gather when we're at conferences together, and kind of it's another networking and time to connect. And then we always do a little debrief on Zoom after the conference. We also have the opportunity, if you would like, to be a teaching assistant in our graduate program as part of a course that you take with me and Laura. You have to be a TA as part of this course, which is around teaching in higher education, because again, remember, that's one of our big purposes, is to impact the future of education, and a big part of that is how teachers are trained initially. And so that's a purposeful experience that you have to do. But then after that class, if you would like to be a teaching assistant to gain more experience, we have opportunities for you to do that. And then we actually are able to pay you a stipend after that initial class. So that's a wonderful perk of this funding as well. So a couple program requirements to know about us. So the first one is we do require within your first semester of the program that you take and pass the K-Perry test. So that's the test that is through the International Dyslexia Association's Center for Effective Reading Instruction. If you already have the K-Perry test, you don't have to take it again. So if you've taken it in the past, we can count that. But if you haven't taken it, that is a requirement of our program, again, within the first semester of being accepted. In our program, we do have a portfolio requirement. So rather than qualifying exams, we do a portfolio that is at the end of your second year that you complete kind of across your second year in the program and you turn in. And that serves as the examination to advance you to candidacy before you do your dissertation. So that is something to know, because that is a big endeavor that our students take on as part of the program. And then, as we've already talked about, which we'll talk about more in just a second, we do have a dissertation. And so at the end of your second year, you will do a presentation of your dissertation proposal. So this is in front of your dissertation chair and committee members from our faculty or contributing faculty. And then once that's approved, then you actually implement your dissertation. So the defense of your proposal for your dissertation and the passing of your program portfolio are both of those pieces are required to advance to doctoral candidacy. And once you've advanced to doctoral candidacy, that means you can actually implement your dissertation. So that's like a big step. That's where some people, not people in our program, but some other people do all but dissertation. And that's the ABD. That doesn't happen in our program. Everybody completes the dissertation in our program. But in other programs, that's what people say, meaning they've done everything, but just not that dissertation part. So that's an exciting thing that happens at the end of your second year. And then, as I said, your third year is really dedicated to your dissertation. And that ends in an oral defense of your dissertation and then graduation. So usually the dissertation is another big area of interest when you're applying. So what does that look like? How does that work? So I'm going to ask students about that in just a second, especially, and faculty if you want to add to that process. But some things to know. We accept the students that we imagine will complete the whole program. So it is not a program that is a weeding out type of program. We accept 20 to 22 students, and we fully expect all of those students complete the program in 3 years. And we have a great track record. So that is absolutely our expectation. And we know with that expectation, we really have to think carefully about our dissertation and how do we support people, because it is the statistics around the number of people who don't complete a doctoral program are staggering and are crazy to me, because we invest a lot of time into you, and to have you not graduate would be heartbreaking to us. And so it's for you and for us. We want to make sure everybody successfully completes in a timely manner, because we have a whole nother cohort right behind you that we have to support their dissertations. So we really carefully think about starting at the end of your first year, going into your second year, how do we scaffold you to make sure that you get that dissertation done in those 2 years, from the second year into the third year. So we work pretty carefully with you throughout that time. So you choose a dissertation chair in the middle of your second year, and you work very closely with that person to make sure you are successfully able to implement and defend your dissertation. So my question is kind of a general one, but you can also talk about, especially those of you who've completed a dissertation, the process of support that you've received. But if you wouldn't mind, and maybe I'll call on you for this part if you don't mind, just because I'd love for people to hear a variety of dissertations. So first, let's just talk about what are your dissertation topics. So I'm going to pick mostly on people who have either already defended their dissertation or people who are getting ready to defend a dissertation. But don't worry, cohort 5, you can also share your ideas. All right, so I'll start with people who've defended a dissertation. Mercedes, do you want to tell us about your dissertation topic?
Sure. So my research and my topic, I looked at adding Spanish supports to an oral language routine for preschool multilingual learners. And then I measured oral language development and engagement within those students. And the reason I did the Spanish supports is because as a dual language teacher, I wanted to research something that I'm really passionate about, that I care about, and that I see in my everyday work life outside of MSJ. And it was a good way to really learn that research and research it for myself. So that was really great.
And can you tell us what kind of research design you used?
Oh, goodness.
She did graduate a little while ago.
My brain froze. Hold on.
That's okay. Do you want me to tell? It's a single case design.
Thank you.
It was alternating treatments. So I wanted to. You're fine.
So it was looking at some adding some Spanish supports, and then there were other days that it was just solely English, and seeing how the students engage with either condition, really, whether it was a Spanish condition or the English only condition, and then measured their engagement as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Mercedes. Janice, can I ask you to share your dissertation topic and design? I should have said design from the beginning.
Design. That was a while ago.
Yes. Mine was actually a group design, a quasi-experimental group design, and I looked at the best approach for teaching first graders irregular words, either the heart word method or sort of a different type of I hate to say flashcards, but like a revised flashcards method. And I looked at which one was a better fit for first graders learning irregular words.
Megan?
Sure. The title or my design was a single case design. I did 2 multiple baselines. The title was Leveraging Phonemic Awareness Instruction. So I looked at phonemic awareness instruction using letters and phonemic awareness instruction using blank tiles.
Renata?
So my research design was a quantitative survey using descriptive and correlational data analysis. And that is not a design that Dr. Murdoch is going to suggest to you. But it was fascinating. It was called An Investigation of Black Principles, Self-Efficacy for Instructional Leadership and Experiences with MTSS for Literacy Improvement. And I basically looked at a group that did not have any research base about them or those topics, and looked into what their knowledge base might have been with literacy and TSS, and also their self-efficacy. So lots of interesting things came up. So
yeah, and just to clarify, Renata's dissertation was fantastic. It was a fantastic topic. Survey design is just tricky nowadays because of all the bots and just the way of survey data collection. Just to be clear, Renata was fantastic, but survey design, we learned a lot. She was in cohort 1 as well. that survey design is just tricky. So great. All right, so those are all of our students who have successfully defended their dissertation. So now I'm going to pick on the students who are getting ready to propose their dissertations. So Jim, would you like to share your dissertation?
Yes, absolutely. This is great practice leading up to a proposal. So I'm looking at the predictive relationship between oral reading fluency and how it predicts performance on statewide tests. So this sprung from a statewide law that we had in Wisconsin and studying that relationship. And specifically, I'm looking for cut points that show basically probability where it's unlikely, likely, or where it's uncertain, where kids will meet expectations on the state test a year later. So looking at end of second grade scores for ORF and how it predicts performance in third grade.
Awesome, so exciting. And Maggie, do you want to, she's also getting ready to propose her dissertation idea.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, so mine is a program evaluation studying a professional learning and coaching pilot that's designed to be a train the trainer. So we're supporting educators who sort of serve as lead teachers informally. And the objective is to get their feedback on the professional learning package that I'll be developing and then turnkey that back to them where they can then train their colleagues using those resources. And so we're really excited to see the impact of that on the preschool educators' knowledge, skill, and confidence, and then use that again to inform revisions and strengthen their practice, but then others beyond.
So then the next cohort that I'm going to pick on is cohort 5, and they are just at the beginning of their kind of dissertation journey. So they finished their first year of coursework, and this past summer, which again, just a couple weeks ago, they started a class with Kelly, which really gets them starting to think about what are some topics, what are some areas that you're interested in for your dissertation. So I want to set this up as they may not have an actual dissertation idea yet. So if you guys just want to share your area of interest that you're exploring. So, Shane, can I ask you to share?
You can ask me to share, but then that would mean I would need to have an answer to provide.
Well, I remember topic areas. I tried to set it up.
Actually, I have some similar interest to Maggie with kind of like that coach to coach model. Um, I'm heavily involved with practicum, so I'm considering working with that coach to coach model within the practicum, somewhere around like feedback or opportunities to respond. Still up in the air. I'm kind of noodling through it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Amy, for that.
Yeah. Well, and you're exactly you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So noodling through just ideas. So that's the fun thing I think about having this class now. Before we always tell them like there's no pressure right now. It's just exploring and thinking about it. The pressure starts like a year from now when you're in like Maggie and Jim's state of like, it's time to nail it down. So great, thank you. Kellen.
Gosh, my palms are sweaty.
Oh
no. I'm really interested in anything around professional learning and kind of looking at general education teacher knowledge and special education teacher knowledge, perhaps pre and post professional learning training. So kind of along the lines of something Maggie is doing too. That's kind of where my brain is at now.
Perfect. Thank you. Corey.
I am very interested in sentence complexity and syntax. So trying to think about how teachers go about or know kind of what sentences to select to teach or how they make those decisions or how curriculums are selecting them and how that impacts student outcomes.
Thank you. And Katie.
I'm still kind of broad, but I have a couple buckets I'm putting ideas into. I'm also really interested in syntax and kind of those foundational components of language and how that develops in first graders. And then also working on like different practice routines to increase automaticity for first graders.
Fantastic. And Becky.
Yeah, because MTSS is my day job, I'm really interested in designing a dissertation project that will support the team that I lead in implementing support to districts and schools. And so I'm thinking along the lines of a program evaluation connected to MTSS, and I can't wait for all of the faculty here to tell me this is a good idea and this is a bad idea. Go this way. So, yeah.
That's great. Oh, awesome ideas. So I want to just punctuate that one of the reasons I like to take a moment for you to hear the different dissertations and their various forms is because one of the things I love about our program is that all of the dissertations are very much come from your day job, right? The problems of practice you're seeing in the field, the things that you're wondering about, that you want to use your dissertation to help you, grow your knowledge about, and then, think about how to evaluate and understand a problem of practice. So I think this group, as all of our groups, have been an excellent demonstration of the types of dissertations that MSJ students undergo. So the next question I have for this group is just if you can talk to us a little bit about the support of the dissertation process. So as Becky kind of ended on, I'm waiting for the MSJ faculty to to guide me into that. And again, Becky and the others in cohort 5 are just at the very beginning of thinking through their topics. So those of you who've gone through it, can you talk to us a little bit about kind of just the process of going from a big idea, honing into the topic and the actual plan that you're taking on?
I guess I'll start. I think everyone starts off in a different boat. There are folks who come in with something on their heart that they want to study. Then there's those of us who you develop it across the classes with your professors. And then there are folks who develop it late and they figure it out. And then in the program, everyone on this call could chant to you, the best dissertation is a done dissertation. So you might have that big idea, but your professors, your chair, guide you to form that into a research project that is doable and attainable within the time. So it's definitely not easy. It's intense, but you are supported. And like Dr. Murdoch said earlier, the program is everyone is crossing the finish line. So you definitely, it was described to us by one of our professors, Dr. Ashby, as a funnel. You start off, with a big idea, they'll help you sculpt it, and then even the project itself turns into a funnel that just goes right down to your research questions and what you're going to do. So you are supported all the way through. You meet every week with your chair. You're never feeling lost or unsupported, which I'd say is something hugely different if you have friends that are in other programs that have had different experiences. This program is very special in that you're supported all the way through every part of your dissertation. So
Also welcome if any faculty member wants to say anything about like the dissertation process too. Yeah, as Renata said, I would say most people come into the program with ideas of dissertations, but not a dissertation. And even if they think they might come in with a dissertation, it's probably not like a doable dissertation. So that is the biggest job of faculty, is to help you take that idea and think about what's doable. And often we talk about what's kind of a first step, because because you're in the field and you're seeing these big problems, you have grand ideas, and part of our job is to help you take those grand ideas and think about, okay, what's something that could actually be a project that's done within this time frame, is going to be a valuable project that's helpful to you and your learning and gives you new insights, but as Renata said, is a done dissertation in the time frame that we're looking for. So great. All right. Oops, I think I accidentally skipped over a couple things. Sorry. All right. So you kind of heard about our dissertations, which again is often heavy on people's mind as they start to think about a doctoral program. So I'm going to turn it over to Allison, who's going to talk about our application process. And here are some key emails to know if you have questions about the application process. So Allison, I'll turn it over to you and I'll advance slides to you.
Thank you. So you can see at the bottom of this slide is the website to start your application, and you will start the 2027 doctoral application. So that's really important because we actually have a 2026 up there as well. So please start the 2027 doctoral application. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions or any issues along the way, and I can help you through those application pieces. So the application, it's fairly straightforward when you start. So you'll have your initial piece where you're going to input all of your information. There is an application fee of $50, but once you submit that initial piece, then you'll see a checklist of required materials. So part of that will be your official transcripts, and your official transcripts will be from all of the schools that you've attended for undergrad and graduate and beyond. And usually you can order through National Clearinghouse or Parchment, and those are emailed to us fairly quickly. The essay is definitely an important piece of the application. And I'm sure, Dr. Murdoch, you'll probably touch a little bit about what you would like to see. But this is a piece that is a required material on the application piece. And what's nice about the application is that with the checklist, it keeps you on track, but you can come and go. So you don't have to finish everything and rush through to feel like you are the first to get your application completed. We are going to look at all of those applications in November. So there really is no rush to complete all the items at one time. So that's really nice about the application. Again, you're going to see on the checklist, we require a resume. And what's nice about the resume is it's not typical. So we don't require you to stick to one page. A lot of times, we get in the habit of using a one-page resume with all of our stuff. We would like you to just expand and show us everything. So your education experiences, your professional experiences, some of your certifications, trainings. So you can take your time and really go through and list all of those pieces on your application.
I could jump in and say one thing, Allison, about that resume, because yeah, I think that as Allison said, seems to be a trend of just like a one-page resume. And one of the things we're looking for, as you've heard me say a number of times, our program is designed for educational leaders. So we're really looking for leadership experience, and it doesn't have to be formal leadership experience. It doesn't mean I have to have been a principal or a superintendent or something like that. You may have led something at your school or done a professional development for your school, or even just led an initiative at a school level. And that's great. School level people we love. So don't feel like you have to be a state level person in order to get in there. I've heard that, and that's just not true. We have a lot of classroom, actually on this call, we have classroom based people. But we are looking for leaders. So that can be a leader who is an informal leader or a formal leader. And that's something that honestly is a little bit hard to see on these very slim resumes. And that's important to get to the interview stage, that we can see that leadership piece. And so think about that as well as you're putting together a resume for this purpose. Sorry, go ahead, Allison. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. And what's nice about the application is I can delete any documents. So after you have heard all of our talking about what is expected, if your resume isn't what you think it should be, I can delete it for you and you can re-upload it. So there's some play in there that after you listen to this, you want to make some corrections, that's fine. You can email me and we can work through that. In addition, so there are references that are required. So we require 2 references, and there is a form on the application that you will complete, and those references will receive a survey to complete. So they usually receive that survey within 24 hours after we receive a completed form. They are questions with a Likert scale, but there is a narrative box under each question. And it is really nice for your references to take their time to complete that narrative piece as well. So keep that in mind, maybe when you're prepping some of your references or asking them if they would mind participating, just to kind of give them a heads up that we are looking for some detailed information in that narrative section. And then the prerequisite form. And Amy, there's lots of questions about prerequisite. So this is probably the hot topic.
Yeah, there always are, understandably. And I'm going to talk about those and hopefully answer all of your questions. But I do want to also just say, take your time with your application. Allison said that, I just want to punctuate that. We are a competitive program. We have an acceptance rate around 15 to 20%. And so you really do want to show your best self in your application materials. So I just want to highlight that. Like, take your time, really make sure that that letter is nicely written, has good, strong academic language in it, that your references have been well, thought through about who's the best person to talk to. And again, that resume really reflects the good work that you've done in your career. And this kind of also goes towards the prerequisites. So let's talk about that. So we have 5 prerequisite courses. These are the 5 core courses in our graduate program. So we really think of our doctoral program as picking up where our graduate program left off. That does not mean that you have to have a master's degree from us in order to get into this program. Not at all. In fact, most of the students in our doctoral program do not. Some of them did go through our master's degree program, but most did not. And so I just want to make that really clear. We're not looking for an MSJ master's degree, but we are looking for that core knowledge of reading science, having that, because we, as I said, our doctoral program focused on leaders. So how to teach reading based on the science of reading, that's in our master's degree. Really applying that to systems and educational change, that's what our doctoral program's about. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. We really, prerequisites are always tricky. We really are not saying you have to have exactly these courses. We are saying you have to have this knowledge, and you have to help us understand how you have this knowledge. And so a lot of times on the prerequisite form, very helpfully, people will write a little narrative, especially if you don't have a graduate transcript to point to. And many people don't have a graduate transcript to point to. We know that, unfortunately, a lot of graduate programs, you may have a master's degree in literacy, but it's not a science of reading based program. Unfortunately, that's not going to meet the prerequisites. If you did go through an IDA accredited master's degree program that is science of reading, we know each other. So I know the other science of reading programs. And if I see a master's degree from one of those programs, I know those courses are aligned with what what our expectations are as well. But definitely help me see that for sure. If you have experiences that you're using to meet that criteria, that's where you probably have to provide a little bit of a narrative in order to help me and the team, that the admissions team that looks at this, which is other faculty members, help us understand what exactly it is. But keep in mind, the big idea of the prerequisites is we want you to be successful in this doctoral program. And so again, we're looking to make sure you have the knowledge and skills that are going to allow you to be successful in a doctoral program focused on the science of reading. So I honestly want everybody to show me if they have it. I want to be able to say, hey, you have it. That's my hope. But I also want to make sure that you truly have it and that you're going to be successful, that you're not going to be, a fish out of water in a doctoral program where everybody else does have this knowledge. So that's really the frame that we're coming to looking at prerequisites. So if you are new to the science of reading, and you probably know if you're new to the science of reading, then you probably do need to do coursework either with us or somewhere else that it will prepare you for this doctoral program. So on our website, there is a prerequisite form. If you click on that, we have a description. I know you can't read this, but I just wanted to show you. We have a description of our different courses, and that's to kind of help you know the type of course that we're talking about. And then on the form, this is an example from the Psychology of Reading. There's a description, and then there's some key content and objectives so that, again, you can read through it and help you know, hey, I do have this background, or I don't have this background. This is probably something I need to, figure out how to get that knowledge before applying to the program. So for each of the courses, we ask you to fill out. If you have a transcript, again, you can just put the year you completed the course, the grade that you got in the course. And then if there's other things that you want to help us understand, you can note it here. And then people have also just attached like a Word document to this where they give me a narrative, and me and the admissions team a narrative that helps us understand, oh, this person has this knowledge or this person doesn't have this knowledge. Here are some general things that you might have that would show that you have this kind of prerequisite knowledge. Obviously, if you've completed a reading science program at MSJ or another International Dyslexia Association accredited program, that's the easiest way. If you've gone to a program that is science of reading, but they didn't go through IDA accreditation, I do probably need to see a syllabus and some other information, because I probably won't know that they are science of reading. And usually you can't tell just from a little description. Again, if you're an IDA accredited graduate, I can pretty easily tell that. And if we have questions, we may ask you for more additional information. One of our requirements is that you have a structured literacy practicum. If you've gone through like an Orton-Gillingham training that again is IDA accredited or INSLIC accredited, then that's an easy one for us to approve that included a practicum. Or other structured literacy. So I've had people who've done direct instruction and gone through a training program about that, or other kind of structured literacy programs. We're again looking for background, and I know how to teach teach reading according to the principles of the science, and that's really what we're looking for. So again, you might give that to us and then give a little explanation to help us know this does check that box. You also may have gone through intensive professional learning training with coaching, documentation of mastery, anything like that is helpful for us to see. And it is, I really wish, because I know this conversation is always tricky to navigate because people do all sorts of different things. And I wish graduate programs, if you have a degree in reading, we could just say, hey, you're all set for a doctoral program. But that's just not the case. So it is an individualized kind of thing for many people. And often we don't completely know until we interview. And through the interview process, we may probe more about your training or your background to understand things. So just know that anything that we're not sure about, if we see overall this is a candidate we really want, we will ask you about that. So my best advice to you is to really reflect on your own experience, looking at our prerequisite courses and the outline of the information, and make sure that you feel prepared. Like, oh, I do have this, and I am ready for a doctoral program. Or if you're really not, that's when you might want to step back and say, I need to do something before going on to a doctoral program. So that's, a real personal piece as well, because you also don't want to get into a doctoral program where you're not feeling like you have that background knowledge to be successful. So that's our big thing. We want you to be successful because we plan on you, if you're accepted, we plan on you graduating. We plan on having 100% graduation rate. And that's really what we're looking for when we're looking for people to include in the program and looking for understanding prerequisites. So I know there's a question about, hey, if I'm just missing maybe 1 or 2 courses, can I still apply and begin? Actually, this now is in March. Yes, if you're just missing 1 or 2 courses, I highly recommend that you apply. And I highly recommend that you tell us, hey, this is an area that I think I might need some more, coursework. I might need to take this prerequisite. I think that is very helpful. If you need more than 1 or 2, then you are probably in the bucket of, you might not want to apply this year. You might want to do some things and then apply once you've, covered that content, either with us or somewhere else. Because again, you're not going to be set up for success, and we want you to be successful. So those, I know prerequisites are a little tricky because of our numbers and because we really look at prerequisites holistically. So we don't just look at what you do on the form. We also look at your resume. We also look at your letter and your whole application process when we're understanding prerequisites in order to get an interview. And then we look, before we make the decision about prerequisites, we look at your interview and your materials, and then we have a conversation with you. So I might say, I'm just going to pick on Megan. Hey, Megan, I think you might need these 2 classes. And we have a conversation about that. And sometimes Megan says, yes, I do need those 2 classes. Or sometimes Megan say, oh, actually, I don't think I need this one. Here's why. But okay, then we'll decide that you'll just take, 1 rather than 2. And that has happened numerous times where I have had conversations with accepted students and I've said, oh, I think you need these 2, and then more conversation, and I realize, oh, nope, just 1, and that's fine. So just know it is a bit of a process, and our intent is not to make you do something you already know. Our intent is to make sure that you're prepared. So I wish it was a little bit more precise, but I think just the nature of people's professional journeys, we want to give credit for those professional things and not just graduate credit. And so it makes it a little messier, but I do think it results in people not having to redo something that they really do know about and have taken that content. So that's the prerequisite information, which I know people probably have individual questions, and definitely reach out to Allison, but also do your best at filling out that form, give us that information, and we'll ask questions if we have them. So timeline for application. So our admissions window opened last week, July 1st, which is very exciting. The deadline for admission is November 25th. So we are pushing back our deadline just a little bit to allow for people to, get everything in. I will say it is a deadline. It is at November 25th. If everything's not in, we do have to, shut it down. And we always get people that kind of break our heart after the deadline who, want to apply. And we really have to stop at November 25th so that we can keep our promise of making sure we let everybody know by December 20th. And so that's our promise to you, is that we will let you know by December 20th. We schedule interviews starting, and we kind of spread those out. So we start scheduling interviews in November and we schedule them all the way through really mid-December, early to mid-December. So then we make decisions by December 20th. We put a lot of stock in the interview. So if you are invited for an interview, definitely you want to take that seriously, which I'm sure everybody will. But make sure you will do a presentation, just a 10-minute presentation for the interview committee. And then you'll have some Q&A with the interview committee. And our interview is always a faculty member and a doctoral student. And so that you kind of get both perspectives, and we get both perspectives when we're interviewing people. I don't even know if I should even have this on the slide anymore, but I always leave it just in case. If we did not fill a cohort in the first round of interviews that I just went over, we have the option of doing a second round of interviews. We've never had to do that. And so I really wouldn't even count on that. If you're serious about wanting to apply, make sure you get your materials in by that November 25th deadline. There's a possibility we wouldn't fill in the first round, but again, that's never happened. We've had a very healthy application process each year. And so we've never had to go into a second round of interviews, but that is a possibility if for some reason we didn't fill all of the spots in the first round. But honestly, we've had the opposite problem. We've had, more wonderful candidates than we're able to accept. So our last little kind of questions to the panel is a couple other, questions around that we frequently get. One around prerequisites. So if you were a student who took prerequisites, if you have any insight into that process and if we got it right, or anything you want to share about doing prerequisites. So maybe I'll start there. So is anybody willing to share their prerequisite experience? Oh, Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I took a prerequisite with Dr. Kelly Powell Smith, and it was really great to take that initially to get prepped for the summer whenever the doctoral program officially started. So I was able to set up my systems, I had my workspace, I got my iPad ready, and kind of my organization down. And even though, I knew a lot of the content, it was really nice to get even more learning on that. So even if you think, oh yeah, I know this, chances are you probably still have more to learn. And so even in that prereq class, I learned a ton from that, and it was just a really good way to get me started and prepped for summer for officially starting the doctoral program.
I completed 2 prereqs before starting the program, and it's nice to knock off some rust. So if it's been, a few years since you've written academically, it's just kind of nice for that sake. And I would say the other thing is to just get comfortable with your classmates and your professors. Imposter syndrome is really real. We talk about that a lot in this program. So just to help kind of ease that into the program, I think the prereqs, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
So the other question we often get is, what do students typically do after they complete their doctoral program? So I can speak broadly, but I wonder if anybody had a change during their time in MSJ, or what you're planning to do after you get your doctorate.
Well, I can say that for me, I was a kindergarten teacher for many, 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 many years. And last year I did step out of the classroom and I've moved more into intervention with small groups and also teacher coaching and new teacher mentoring. So that's been a bit of a change. And also having the opportunity to come back to MSJ and do really good work with um, like our language pieces and recording videos in Spanish for my preschool babies that need it, like getting opportunities to do those types of things and that type of work with the school itself has been really valuable and important to me. So lots of changes.
Awesome. Thanks, Mercedes.
I'll I'll go next. For me, my day job stayed the same, but what happened is I added a lot to my plate. So a lot of work outside of my day job. I leave my day job and come do what is much more fulfilling, which is teaching, teaching with at MSJ, and then other projects. I in the last few weeks talking to other cohort members that are in the program now about this topic, that there's so much work to do across the country. So um, consulting galore is going to be available to you. Work at the state level. Everyone needs support with this work right now. So so my plate is completely overflowing.
Yeah, and I love what both Mercedes and Renata shared, and I think it's very typical of our program as a whole. So a lot of people will absolutely say kind of what Mercedes said is, I had more opportunities within my school setting, so I was seen more as a leader in my school setting and beyond, right? So being able to expand your role at your, not even changing your job, but just expanding it within. And then also, just piggybacking off of what Renata said, we do have a lot of people who do stay within their job because they're already maybe in a leadership role, but they have so many opportunities to do other consulting work or other teaching work, other projects. Actually, both Mercedes and Renata spoke of that. And then we do have a number of people who move into higher education, people who take professors' jobs, which we, are thrilled about, or move into state level leadership or other leadership opportunities. And that's really our hope, is that whether it be in higher education, training teacher candidates in the science of reading so that teachers are trained about how to teach reading correctly in their teacher preparation program, or working in the in-service world where I'm training at a larger level current teachers who want to know how to teach reading better. So I'd say those are kind of big themes with our graduates. It's fun because, again, thanks to our funding, we do a regular evaluation survey with our students. And one of the things we track is how much are you working in higher ed, because that's a big goal of ours. And it doesn't necessarily mean I have a full-time faculty position. It can mean I'm doing a project where I'm helping higher ed move towards the science of reading, or I'm an adjunct, or I'm doing a project with higher education. And I would say about 80% of our students after graduating have some touch point with changing higher ed, which again was a real goal for us. All right, so here's my last question is, and I know we're a little over time, so I apologize. Why MSJ? Does anybody want to say? We know everybody has choices around the graduate program that you choose to take on and apply to. Would anybody on this call feel comfortable sharing why they chose MSJ? And that could be for faculty as well.
So I went through the master's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Paul-Smith.
Oh, I think they might want to hear the student's perspective more, but I'll just say that I took this job after leaving a small corporation position that was a research position, and this has been the best decision professionally I think I've ever made. So, yeah. So I'll stop there. Otherwise, I might start tearing up.
Well, it's always a privilege to have you and all of our faculty. So I think I went through the masters, many of the here, so I was familiar with many of the faculty and received so much support, and just the kindness that they expressed there was motivating to apply to the doctoral program. But I feel like, as many of us who are here in the call can share and emphasize, and then are probably feeling as those who are interested, it's really tangible, the community that's here, the families that are built within the cohorts, and then as well as just, again, the support of the faculty just like could not be more clear when I was, sitting through this webinar a couple of years ago and experienced firsthand being privileged to be in this amazing community. So that really motivated me, knowing that some other experiences aren't quite as supportive as what we have here.
I can add to that, similar to what Kelly and Maggie have shared. The reason I chose MSJ, I did the dyslexia certificate and the reading science certificate and the doctoral program, and now I keep choosing MSJ because I work here. It's the mission. I identify with the mission and the goal of MSJ, and that's what the work's all about, even when it gets really hard. I just think about that, and it grounds you, and you can continue to push forward. And I've met some of my most best friends ever, and we laugh a lot. And so it's just a wonderful place to be.
I'll just say that it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. Everybody, all faculty, everyone is so supportive and so wonderful and really rooting for you to succeed. And that's very different than in other places. And I will continue to say it. That's why Amy can't get rid of me, even if she tried, because I keep coming back because it's in my heart. That word mission that you spoke about, Megan, that mission, we all have that same shared mission, that same shared piece of our hearts, and I think that's really bonded everyone together. So it's been a really great and easy decision, and if I had to do it again, I'd do it all over again.
That's great. Well, thank you. I know we're a little over time, so I apologize for that. And I just like to always end with like my why MSJ. And I am known to get a little teary. So when I talk about this kind of stuff, but my why is really, we are all caring and supportive. And the reason is because, we need to change literacy outcomes in this country. Far too many children, for no reason beyond just ineffective practices, keep continuing, are failing at reading. And so our real why, every single one of us, is to change literacy outcomes so that we have a more just and fair society, because we know literacy is the avenue to advancement. And, we have a lot of inequity right now in our literacy instruction and literacy access. And so all of our why is because we need to change that and we need to make our world better. And the way to do that is by making sure our teachers are supported and they know how to support children. And so that we can make sure all children learn to read. And, that we create a better world because our world needs some help right now. And, all of these people are kind and supportive people, but don't let them fool you because they're also literacy warriors that are ready to change our outcomes for kids. So thank you all so much. I apologize for going over a little bit. I really want to thank our doctoral students, our faculty, and our alum for giving up so much of their time this evening to share the program with all of you. Thank you for your interest in MSJ. And if you have questions, please do reach out to our Reading Science email or to Allison about the admissions process. So thank you all. Thank you all. So good to see everyone. Thank you.